Fox News Podcasts presents the Bret Baier Podcast with Fox News Chief Political Anchor Bret Baier.
We are going to, at some point, just set prices for deals. Some will be tariffed. Some treated us very unfairly. They'll be tariffed higher than others. But we've been ripped off for many, many years. The United States has been ripped off like no country probably in the history of the world has been ripped off for 45, 50 years.
President there joining us tonight to talk about the economy, trade, tariffs. Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here again. Good to see you.
All right, let's start 30,000 feet. You know, where you see the U.S. economy tonight.
Sure. So if you look at what we see in our data, and so one of the things we uniquely have is what consumers are doing, and we can see it. So if you think about April year to date, you look at about a 5% money movement in the economy. $1.4 trillion has moved through those accounts in the economy, 5% more than moved for the last those 4-month period round numbers last year. It's basically held up, and it's basically a little faster in the fourth quarter. So the consumer's still spending. Now, they're telling us that they're worried. They're telling us that they're thinking. So if you go to small businesses, they've got good credit quality, they're making money, but again, they're worried about what happens next. And if you go to larger companies, the same thing. So I think the question would be, the economy is in reasonable shape, but our economists have lowered their growth assumptions by 1% this year, 1.25%, and about 1% off of next year. And basically have put in, 0.5% to 1% growth, which is far different than they had, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and that's largely due to the uncertainty around how the tariffs will break. If it solves quickly, I think the U.S. economy will be fine. If it takes a year, that could be a little interesting.
Yeah, so J.P. Morgan had put the probability of a recession at 60%. You all came out and said the bank doesn't see a recession.
Yeah.
That was April 15th. Yeah. You're still in that spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, our research team, which is the Candace Browning-Pilot team, they don't see a recession. They don't see the Fed cutting rates this year. They see them cutting starting mid next year because they think inflation will be a little sticky, and then the Fed will bring rates down by 100 basis points next year, not this year. And they see the economy slowing a lot, and that's where we've got to be careful. They still see positive growth, but you're going from a 3% growth rate in the third quarter of 24 to under a 1% growth rate in this quarter, meaning the second quarter, first quarter, second quarter this year. That's a big slowdown in a big economy.
That's what you said to Liz Clayman at the end of March. You said your people didn't think that interest rates were going to fall. Yeah. And that was a bit surprising because, obviously the president calls on Jerome Powell to cut interest rates all the time. Is it possible that could change before the end of the year? Well,
our team says none. The market says 3. The market said 1, 6 weeks ago. So a lot of this has to do with really the belief of whether the trade will work through. And if it works through, then the fundamental underlying economy is okay. Credit quality is good. Consumers have a lot of money in their accounts. The unemployment rate's very low. And that's going to be the debate. The Fed has to keep that course going down towards 2%, and they don't think they get there until the end of next year.
You're one of the big lenders out there, top lenders, mortgages. March home sales dropped to their slowest pace since 2009. They're saying more inventory, slower sales, starting to put a chill on prices. You see that? How does that affect all that you're talking about on mortgages?
Housing's been difficult because the rate structure moved up so fast and dramatically. It's sitting at a pretty high rate. Now, for people who own a house today, their mortgage rate's locked in under 3%, 60-70% of them, they're fine. The moving rates had nothing to do with it. For the people who want to buy a house, that's a different question. So it's just going to be muted until the rate curve settles in, until people get, quite honestly, a treasury rate where it is now is really more normal than we've seen for the last 15 years. We just got used to very low rates. And so I think until people sort of get used to that, a 6% mortgage, 7% mortgage, you and I would think we did that.
There are, some scary indicators. The U.S. dollar index, falls to the lowest level of Monday since March of 22. Is that a red flag, a warning?
That's the dollar, we believe, is going to continue to weaken a little bit, but not as much. It's weakened. And that has to do with just all the discussion going on. And we're here in Washington, IMF week, and everybody's wringing their hands on what's going to happen next. But it's a lot to do with that, and a lot to do with the uncertainty of the trade policies and the growth in the U.S. economy. What you've seen is the treasury rates and dollar move pretty violently for people in those businesses. In the grand scheme of things, 4.5% 10-year rate and a 4.25% is not that different, but when it moves that fast, that's the unusual thing. So you saw some reactions, but I think the dollar weakness is reflecting a view of the U.S. as being the best place to invest, et cetera, that people are expressing now. I think it would shake out if some of this uncertainty comes out, it'll shake out. And if you ask our clients, our investor clients, they just want to see, there's 4 or 5 policies out there. They understand them all now. The administration is very transparent with what they're doing. A trade policy, an immigration policy, a deregulation policy, the tax policy, et cetera, and trying to create more jobs, manufacturing jobs in the U.S. The question is, people can't quite reconcile how they all work together. And until that sorts out, they're a little bit worried.
Do you think that the markets are waiting for that one deal, that one blueprint that kind of lays out what this is all going to look like?
I think for 2 reasons. One is it would give them a blueprint, as you said. Second was show that their deals can be done. And I think so. If the rumors are true that certain countries are closer and there'll be something, I think that'll do a lot to calm the market down, because they'll say there is a way to get this resolved. This is a lot of trade deals. I mean, I remember after Brexit, people said, well, we'll just go out and negotiate 275 trade deals. UK said, I don't think they're done with a third of those, probably. I don't know the number.
It's complex. It's like
very
three-dimensional chess.
But an outline saying, hey, it won't get worse the next, I think that would be helpful. If that were done with 2 or 3 countries, like the Treasury Secretary said, we think we'll get that done, that would calm the market, saying there's a path to get there. For country A, country B, country C, and I think that would be very helpful.
What about the premise that the president makes that there needs to be this rebalancing, that the U.S. has been, in his words, on the back end of a lot of deals, taking the short end of the stick for a lot of years?
I think the issue is sort of what's your driving point. If your driving point is manufacturing jobs, then you'd say we lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. In 1970, there were 20-odd million manufacturing jobs. There's 13 million today. But there's twice as many people. We went from 80 million people working in the U.S. to 160 million in that time frame, which means services jobs took over. So it really depends on your viewpoint. If you look at it from manufacturing jobs, if you look at just basic fairness, we have stuff to sell. Other people sell us stuff. Why don't they buy more from us? That's the case in China. So I think each country is a little different, honestly. The USMCA countries were part of an agreement that was negotiated in the first Trump administration. So it's a little hard to say that wasn't a deal that we lived with at the country. So I think it's just making sure, and then there's national security interests. I think there's very different premises. If you come at it from national security, that's about chips, that's about shipbuilding, that's about that. If you come at it from just fairness and buying, that's more about a China question. The other countries are more in balance. If you come about it, let's make sure we get jobs back here, that's a different thing to solve. So I think it really depends on your look through. I think the U.S. has been pretty successful when you put it in the global context. Even since the financial crisis, if you go back and look, we were going to be outgrown by China, outgrown by Europe. The reality is we're 1.6, 1.7 times the economy size. Those countries haven't moved nearly as much. So it's been successful, and we have a lot of great things in this country we got to make go.
All right, so biggest strength in the economy that you see, biggest weakness that you see?
Oddly enough, it's the same thing. The question is timing. The biggest strength is U.S. consumers employed, has money in their accounts, their credit quality is good, and they're spending well. The biggest weakness, not here yet, but could happen, is that changes. And that's really down to business employment. If you saw today, the new claims for unemployment are still very solid, at a level that's below where it was in 19. In 19, the amount of workers were smaller. So I think the real weakness is the question. The real weakness will be if companies really start reducing headcount, laying off people. Right now, that hasn't gone on, but that's the worry about not being able to figure out what profit margins are and not being able to plan the future. The second weakness I worry about is business investment. That we predict that to slow dramatically this quarter and next quarter. Therefore, that's why the economy we had it growing almost 2.5%. 6 months ago. We now have it grown 0.5%. That is all really drilled out by business investment in the U.S.
Well, it's fascinating. As a golfer, I watched the Masters. I saw the ad. So now you're in the Masters game there, and golf with us looks like an interesting thing.
Yeah, so what we did is we became a champion sponsor for the Masters this year after having done the Latin American Amateur, the Asian Amateur, the Women's Amateur, and now we went to the tournament. It was a great tournament with Rory winning. It was really something else. But what we said is, how do we take golf out to bigger environments? So we went and worked with a nonprofit and said, look, for $5, kids between 6 and 18 can play on these mini courses. All they got to do is join a golf club. And that golf club is out there, and you can join it. 30,000 kids have joined since we ran those ads.
Wow.
And so 30,000 kids will be able to play 3,000, 4,000 municipal courses. for $5. And so it's really interesting. And we're getting a lot of courses coming to us. So our strategy with a lot of these sports sponsorships, whether it's Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, what we're going to do with FIFA, is how do we push this sport out to more and more places? And that's what we're trying to do. And Augusta National is a great partner, and they worked with us. And this is a great program. 30,000 kids really in less than a week have signed up to this golf club to go out and play. And I think it captures the spirit of what golf can do.
That's right. $5, that's good. Brian, thanks.
Thanks.
We'll hear more after this.
In 2024, the People's Liberation Army demonstrated growing capabilities through persistent pressure operations, with military pressure against Taiwan increasing by 300%. China's increasingly aggressive actions near Taiwan are not just exercises, they are rehearsals.
Well, tonight we focus on the threat from China to Taiwan, also President Trump's tariffs and trade. Joining us is Alexander Yui, Taiwanese representative to the U.S. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bret, for having me.
You heard that test run, if you will. I know there were some live fire drills recently that were very aggressive by China. It's happening a lot.
Yes, it's increasing in number of times that they're conducting these exercises. And as Admiral Papara mentioned, it's a rehearsal, not just war games. And this is even now unannounced because they consider that as their backyard, so they don't need to let other people know that they're doing what they're doing. Although 50% of world trade goes through the Taiwan Strait, so it does affect world trade.
You know, as we see that area in the map here, it does affect world trade, and there is always this guessing game of when D-Day may happen, when China may invade Taiwan. Being there, what does the leadership think about that?
Well, Xi Jinping has mentioned 2027 as a year that the PLA has to be ready to take Taiwan by force. 2027 is the centennial of the People's Liberation Army's founding, so that's a symbolic a point, and it's depending on what we do, what Taiwan does to better prepare itself for this eventuality, that we hope for peace. But as the saying goes here, repeated frequently, peace through strength.
Technically, our policy is strategic ambiguity.
Yes.
It's a little foggy when we talk about it, but the last two presidents have been asked about it. Take a listen.
So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
Is it also your policy that as long as you're president, China will never take Taiwan by force?
I never comment on that. I don't comment on anything because I don't want to ever put myself in that position.
Are you all convinced that if it happened, that the U.S. would come to defense?
It is our house. We'll keep our house safe, and it is on fire. We'll try to put the fire ourselves. But friends come from outside, from when neighbors come to try to help, we'll obviously welcome their help. But it is our responsibility to safeguard our homeland.
All right, let's talk tariffs. The reciprocal tariffs went in place beginning of April. China is the big focus of this administration, but if you look at the list, Taiwan is on that list.
Yes.
And you're at 32%. How do you look at that? What do you see? And what is it doing physically as far as trade goes?
When the announcement was made on April 2nd, obviously Taiwan and many countries were shocked by this high number of percentage applied to Taiwan in particular. But actually, what the United States wants to accomplish, which is to re-energize, reinvigorate United States manufacturing, it confirms to Taiwan's strategy itself. Mm-hmm. So you've heard about President Trump's announcement in April about March, about TSMC's added investment of $100 billion added to the 65 that they already are doing in Arizona.
This is for chip making.
For chip making, advanced chip making. And also recently there were announcements of NVIDIA working with 3 Taiwanese companies, Foxconn, TSMC, and Windstrom, to manufacture AI computers in Texas on order of $500 billion. And et cetera. So we already positioned ourselves in the United States, and this U.S. goal conforms with Taiwan's also.
Well, I mean, the U.S.-Taiwan total trade, there is a deficit there, $73 billion
Yes.
in trade deficit. And that's one of the reasons around the world the president has said he wants to change the paradigm on how that operates. Are you in the process of negotiating?
Yes. April 11th, we started the negotiation process, and it's going well. President Lai, in his op-ed in Bloomberg recently, he already outlined what we're ready to do with the United States in this process, which is, first of all, tariffs. We want to lower the tariffs reciprocally, if to zero if possible, but we're willing to talk about tariffs. Also about investments. We just mentioned about the growing number of investments from Taiwanese companies in the United States. Also about non-tariff barriers. This is something that has been impeding Taiwan trade negotiations in the United States for many years. I think this is the right time to do away with these non-tariff barriers.
You are in the process of negotiating.
Yes, we're in the process of negotiations. Arms procurement is also important. We're going to buy a lot of more weapons from the United States. We're going to buy LNG from the United States. We're going to buy more agricultural industrial products from the United States, and that will itself lessen the trade imbalance between the United States and Taiwan.
You have a lot of congressional members on both sides of the aisle that have made the trip to Taiwan. You have a lot of support there. You have a senator that even put a book together.
Yeah, let me show you. Senator Dan Sullivan from Alaska, he put this pamphlet that he distributes to everybody, and when this is a compendium with speeches in the Senate and also at think tanks about why Taiwan matters. But this is a way to show the United States that we are a relevant partner with the United States. Also, Congressman Joe Wilson from South Carolina, when we were together at an event recently, he showed the bloodshed of his father's flying jacket. And his father was a flying tiger that helped our people defend ourselves during World War II. And this is, to make no mistakes, who your friends were is the flag of my country, the Republic of China, Taiwan. And we were being allies since World War II, and we're friends and allies today also.
Wow. Mr. Ambassador, we appreciate your time, and welcome back anytime to talk about the situation.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.